Hey everybody, I got something totally different for you. I'll just cover this up real quick. Because this is the first pro drift engine for this guy. What? Adam, what? Adam.
What are those two initials?
What's it? For Adam LZ. Gosh, wouldn't it be cool if he was here right now?
Hello.
Hello. Let's talk about this.
Sure.
So, this is interesting. Full build video coming up right here in a second. So let's talk about this just real quick. Adam called us almost a year ago.
Yep.
In fact, almost exactly a year ago, and said, "What do you think about doing a big block Chevrolet drift engine, pro drift engine?" And I'm like, "Shoot, yeah, man, yeah, heck yeah, brother. What do you want to do, and why? Why?"
Yeah, I mean, look, pro drifting right now, like there's a sweet spot of around like 1,000 to 1,100 horsepower. I'm doing it with a JZ right now, and I like it. It's really good. The LS guys, I've had a lot of them around me. You know, we sell a lot of parts for LS engines, and they're not lasting with what we're doing to them right now. And the next logical step from that is a bigger engine. Like you guys run 3,000, 4,000 horsepower in these. And so many drivers that I've been around have always talked about like, man, a big block would be so cool in a drift car, it'd be so cool. But no one wants to be the guinea pig and wants to figure it out. So I called you up. I really like that you didn't say, hey, Adam, look, I know I can do this. And I know it's going to be the greatest thing and it's going to work great. You're like, look, I'm stoked on this idea. I want to get it right with you. So to me, that like it's exciting to know that we're going to take this and we're going to figure out, okay, does this work great for drifting? If not, how can we make it better? That's what's fun for me. Like I get to experience all these different engines and to be able to learn and develop.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point because you'll hear me say this all the time because we say it all the time in the drag and drive stuff. Making horsepower is easy. That is no freaking problem. We can make more horsepower than anybody needs to use at any point in time. Making stuff live and making stuff in the appropriate range, you know, in the appropriate use, that is tougher.
Yeah.
And that's what we were really working on with this. So we had a couple things that two things that we need to do. A, we need to make it live. That's just obvious. It has to live in this maintained RPM environment with really high shock loads. Like, because you're probably doing similar thing of launching the car,
but multiple times
in an event.
Our average run time would be like, I know we talked about it earlier, it's been so long. I calculated, I want to say it was like maybe like 20 seconds, but then we do 2 of those back to back with very little cooldown. So it'd be like the equivalent of having to make, I don't know, what would that be, like 16 passes back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
So not only are we doing that, it's sustained high RPM. Usually there's a lot of limiter issues, which we'll talk about with the drive-by-wire throttle.
Yep.
And then, like you said, we'll go from pulling the handbrake, bring the wheel speed down to 0 to whoop, right back up to 140 over and over and over again. So it sees a lot of shock. And then another issue with drifting, which won't be an issue for this per se, is just we don't have airflow. There's no airspeed going into the front of the engine to cool things off. That's why we have the radiator in the back, and we're solely relying on fans because we're going sideways.
Yep.
So it's unique in that, you know, also if you're not familiar with drifting, it is not a low grip scenario. There's a lot of load. The cars pick up wheels. I think it'd be similar to like sprint cars would be the best way for me to explain this.
That's good now.
Because you're spinning the wheels, but they're loaded. Yeah. You can hear it in the engine. You see them picking up a wheel in corners. It's very similar with what we do.
Oh. Yeah, the sprint car analogy is actually really good.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay. I want to drive one of those. They look so sick.
Yeah, you could drive one of those. Yeah.
What?
I don't know. It's a good way of getting hurt, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm not all that keen to drive. But
even compared to what you just drove out there?
Yeah, no, that's no big deal. But I don't know. It's something I've seen those cars tumble too many times.
Got it. Maybe solo, not with a field of other cars.
Yeah, maybe solo. That would be. Probably could.
They just sound so cool.
Yeah, sprint cars are pretty cool. But okay, so and then the second thing was, you might notice this is our intake manifold, and it is Billy bad assery right here. I mean, this is a very, very nice piece. And what we wanted to do was, Adam wants to fit this under the hood, and I think we nailed it here. I think this is really quite low. As a matter of fact, grab that intake manifold there, Kyle. This is the standard intake manifold that needs to go on these cylinder heads. And if you compared it right here,
I mean, we're almost
you would have to have a throttle body on top of that, and then have to have an air filter on top of that. So you would be, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches taller than what this is. And this just flat out works. So this is 632 cubic inches. It needs to maintain and run in the 7,500 to 8,000 RPM area. So there's a lot of special stuff that we got to do to this thing. A lot of things that just need to happen. Before we go to the build video, where we're going to show you everything that's in this and how we build it, not the top secret stuff, but all the basics, and safeties on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have rev limiter stuff. Adam mentioned just a little bit about the rev limiter.
Yeah, so obviously the biggest concern with this, even me not knowing anything about big blocks, just knowing other V8 things, is like limiter is the Achilles heel. You don't want to sit on limiter, the valve train can get damaged. So what we do on some of those engines is we'll run a drive-by-wire throttle, and we'll actually roll it closed up top. So that way the engine will kind of hang there rather than pushing all the way through to the limiter. It'll kind of, and just like hang there if we want to be at 7,500, 7,800, wherever, just so it's not bouncing off an ignition cut limiter.
Mm-hmm. So, long story short, starts getting near the rev limiter, they're closing the throttle to slow the engine down.
Yep.
Before it hits the rev limiter. Because, as I've said all the time, get your engines off the rev limiter. It is not good for any engine to be on the rev limiter. See, people think they get away with it, and they don't, do they?
It sounds cool.
It sounds cool, but they don't get away with it for very long.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. LS is, it doesn't matter what it is. It's really hard on parts. So don't do it, please.
I should also add a disclaimer. This is like, I'm so new to the V8 world. I don't even know like the imperial system. I'm still thinking of metric. We're talking about injector sizes, and it goes over my head. So
Yes.
I can't even explain how a carburetor works. So I'm like diving head first. I'm skipping the LS, and we're going right to the big block Chevy.
Yep. We're gonna big block Chevy the world. That's what we're gonna do.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So another really interesting thing that Adam was telling me on doing safeties and about the rev limiter, and he says, "Oh, and we don't run any engine cuts." They go, "Why not?"
Basically, like what we're asked as drivers when we're a lead car and we're setting our lap, we're always on the verge of crashing. And by that I mean we're riding the edge of a wall with all of our momentum going into the wall, and we're pushing away from the wall with the wheel speed. So if the engine were to ever shut off, we're going to write the whole chassis off into the wall. So usually we'll run lights, or maybe some sort of, if we do run a safety, it might be lowering the rev limiter by 1,000 RPM. So as a driver, we know, okay, there's a problem. And then you can make the call, okay, do I want to shut it down to save my engine? Or do I want to push through, win the battle, and risk something? So,
so you'll risk breaking an engine versus wholesaling the car.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Like, how much is the engine? How much is the car? Does the race really matter? Like, is there a big payout, or is it just a dumb fun race?
Right.
But then at least as the driver, you can make that call if you want to continue or if you want to bow out to save your motor.
Right. Okay. No, there's really interesting stuff. I'm really looking forward to this. It's been, I think we've been physically working on the engine since PRI shows. When you said, okay, we're going to pull the trigger and you go ahead and do this. It's pretty good. I think you'll be surprised.
Is this similar to anything else that you've put together, or is this different, like parts combo?
It actually is. It has some similarities to some of our drag and drive stuff. The maintaining RPM is always maintaining RPM safely is a little bit trickier, especially higher RPM. I mean, 5,000 RPM don't mean squat.
And is that where the crank would be the main difference in this motor compared to the other stuff you do that's similar?
Yeah, I would never. Yeah, usually we would never, in a boosted application, we'd never build an engine this big. Rarely, except for the big black Hemi. That's a separate deal. But usually we wouldn't make anything this big because it boosted. Oh, that's another thing. So in this kind of engine boosted, they just flat out make so much torque. It is absolutely unuseful.
Really?
Yeah. That's why we never do it drag race stuff, because everything will be in the 500 cubic inch range, because in the 600 cubic inch range, you have to take all the power out of it because you can't ever make it go down track.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if we ever did a boosted version in a big block,
yeah,
which I'm not sure why we would, but maybe things change. I don't know. You guys go faster and faster all the time. So.
I think that like there's two tracks in my head where the power that I think this is going to make, it will still need another 200 shot of nitrous. Would it need could be used, I should say.
Oh,
So like I make 1180 to the wheels right now, and there are tracks where I have more than enough power, and there are tracks when, if I had more power, I could put more grip in the car. So it kind of depends on the track and the surface, and I mean, it's probably the same thing as drag racing. You can put more power on a certain track.
Yeah.
So prep's good.
yeah, and prep's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Radial tire guys.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, man. Let's get to the build. Check this out. And then after we get done with the build, then we're coming back and we're starting to run the dyno.
Steve said you're beating down the sleeves. What's this little tool you got?
So yeah, we're beating them down just to make sure that they're all the way seated, so that when I do deck it, they don't drop below the deck surface. I found usually a lot of people just put a plate of aluminum or something down and beat on the plate, but you always get the plate always bounces on the deck surface a little bit, or on top of the sleeve it bounces. And I've had issues with the sleeves bouncing back up doing that. So I made a little tool that go down in the bore, and then I can hold it with my one hand while I beat on the top of the sleeve, and it doesn't bounce. So it tends to actually seat the sleeves a little bit better. I'd say it was just over 5 when last time, or just under 5.
And how far are you going to keep going with this?
Until they stop moving, which around 4 thou is where I'm expecting them probably to stop. It's usually where Brodix leaves them.
Yep. And then you're going to deck it flat?
Yep, we're gonna deck it flat for a MLS head gasket, so the deck surface gotta be smooth.
All right, so you just saw all the block machining, and we've already mocked this up, but I thought I'd show you because this is something else. Now, this is 632 cubic inch. This is a Brodix block, and this is a scat crankshaft and scat connecting rods. A very nice piece. This is their lightweight, scat's lightweight, 8 counterweight, 4 3/4 inch stroke crankshaft. Really cool. Now, you got to keep in mind, the whole premise of this thing is to get away from the supercharged LS stuff and to have torque on demand and steady maintaining RPM peak horsepower. What do you think? Yeah.
I think a 632 will do that.
I think it definitely will too. Tons of stroke for tons of torque. Really cool. A lot of cylinder head on this thing. I'll show you everything that's in here. We'll start right up from the ground up. Block is a Brodix block. Crankshaft, 8 counterweight, 4 3/4 inch stroke. big block Chevrolet crankshaft from Scat Industries. Very nice piece. Scat 700 long connecting rod. And one of the amazing things that I'm really happy about is we have not had to clearance this at all. It just has natural clearance in it. The steel rod is a big help. If this was aluminum rod, we'd probably be doing some clearancing for sure. But this thing just clears and fits everything, which just makes things much nicer. So we're going to start going through this. All the machine work's done. You've seen that. We're going to go through this one thing at a time and show you all these engine parts. So Kyle's going to jump in here and just was showing you the mock-up stuff. And Kyle's going to start checking bearing clearances and start with the assembly on this 632 cubic inch Pro Drift for Adam LZ.
All right, guys, we're here working on Adam LZ stuff. We've got our rotating assembly here laid out. Dad set the crankshaft in here just temporarily to show you guys how much clearance we've got. So I'll be taking this back out to clean it. Here we've got our Scat connecting rods, Race Tech pistons, like my dad had mentioned before. Great pieces that we're going to be using on this build. Now what I'm going to be doing is going through, I've already gapped our rings. I've gapped them at 31 thousandths on the top ring, 33 thousandths on the second ring. With that being said, we've got everything laid out ready to go for this short block. Now all I need to do is just finish up with bearing stuff. I've already got the rings done. So we are ready to start actually assembling this engine. All right, we are looking bueno. We are good to go. So our rod bearing clearance has been set. Now we just got to do the main bearing clearance and go over things one more time, and our short block will be ready to go. Okay, we've got our main bearing clearance set and finalized. Now we are ready to drop in the crankshaft. But before I do that, I've got our main bearings installed here, but I've left the thrust bearing out because I wanted to talk about this bearing real quick. This right here is a Clevite F bearing. And the F bearing, what makes this different is that this has got a special inside lining that makes this bearing more durable than the standard H series bearing. So it's actually 126% more load carrying capacity on this bearing, which is why we're going to throw it in the thrust, because this car has got a wicked clutch on it. And he's going to be pumping it a lot. So that's why we're picking this particular bearing for the thrust. So we're going to go ahead and throw that sucker in there like so. And we are now ready to throw the crankshaft in. And after that, obviously the next step is pistons and the rods, which are laid out and ready to go as well. Wait.
Hold up. You ain't got no lube.
All right, our short block is now completed and together. Everything is torqued, rolls over perfectly good. Now what we need to do is find how far our piston is inside of our cylinder bore. So we're finding our deck clearance. Basically, what all we need to do, I've already set the piston on top dead center and found top dead center. Now we can go over here and we can set our 0 off of our deck. And we're just a little bit off. Right about there. And drag it over onto this top side of the piston. And we'll rock it this way. You see we are 45,000. It's on the opposite side of the dial, so it says 55. But we're going this way, so it's 45. Go back this way. We are 15. And to get our deck clearance, we subtract those two numbers from each other. So what is 45 minus 15, Nate?
30.
30. You got it. So we are 30 thousandths inside of the cylinder, and that's what our deck clearance is.
That's a pretty good number.
That's a pretty good number. It's a little bit low in the deck, which is fine. This should still be right about 13 on compression. With a 0 deck, it ends up being like 13 and a half. I'll rerun the numbers with it now that I have the deck clearance number. But it should be like 13 or so still. Now at this point, we're ready to keep going. So we've got our camshaft down there. We've got our Jessel valve train and everything still boxed up that I have to unpackage. I'll clear some room on top of this table and we'll start laying all that stuff out for assembly. All right, before we move on to putting all that stuff on, I wanted to show you guys real quick. We've got our camshaft and we've also got in the block, I did not mention earlier, this is a 55 millimeter roller bearing for our camshaft. So super nice piece in there that's gonna keep the valve train happy. We've also got, to go with our cam, our Crower 903 lifters. Nice solid deal. Just figured I'd show you guys a couple little things before I start putting this together.
So you see that Kyle's got this sweet 632 short block all put together for LZ. You see the really nice scat, lightweight 632 crankshaft, center counterweighted. That's a really nice crankshaft. Scat rods, race tech piston, super good. Happy with all that. Now this is going to be 13.5 to 1 is actually what it calculates out to with that cylinder head. So 13.5 to 1. Kyle's got the Jessel belt drive, Innovator West balancer on there with a 12-1 magnetic wheel built into it. So that's super good. Now we're getting over to the cylinder heads. Now the one thing that we are waiting for is holding us up right now this particular second, because we're actually going to be putting the cylinder heads on. Need to set top dead center pointer and all that stuff, Kyle. Before we put the heads on, is we have a custom big block Chevrolet for this daily dry sump oil system coming for it. So the really nice billet pan with a pump built into it, packages up really nice. So a little added expense there, but really nice. Now we come over to the AFR. Now these are the Pro 18-degree Magnum heads, and what you see different about this is a really small combustion chamber. This is a 90cc combustion chamber. That's where we're making up, because we don't have hardly any dome on this thing, but with a 90cc combustion chamber, it comes up that 13.5 to 1 compression ratio. Now, because we're not boosted, we're going to be able to use a Cometic style multi-layer head gasket. But these, so we're not going to do hoops or anything, but these heads are are sweet. The one thing that you will notice is how much different the intake manifold flange is, which is it's a raised runner deal. It's a complete raised runner intake deal. So no other conventional intakes fit this head, but these are a good big power head, and I'm really kind of excited about doing this in NA stuff because I do have some friends and some people that have used these in particular in the boosted world, and they work great. So I'm going to be really interested to see how much horsepower we can get here, but it is just a really nice head. Castings are really good. I like the rocker arm. The valve train system is really nice for it. It's going to have a Jessel rocker arm on it, just like the belt drive there. So here's all the Jessel rockers, one-piece intake stand, and then the exhaust stand bolt in. So and we'll weld them in after we get everything all set for the correct heights. So it will be a one-piece rocker arm stand. So that's pretty cool. But thankfully on this whole intake manifold thing, because it does take a weird intake manifold, we just happen to have such an animal. Extremely cool. Our billet intake manifold for that whole combination. So a 10-200 deck height block with the Pro Magnum head, 18-degree head. It's gonna be nice. So this is one thing that's gonna be interesting is that typically this is our boosted intake manifold. So we might end up doing some stuffers in it. If you want to come back and when we're actually dynoing this thing, we might actually show you what stuffers are. See if you can figure that out. But I think because of how much cubic inch it is and what Adam needs to do with it in the drift world, in the pro drift world, where I don't think we're going to have any type of problem because it has so much stroke, so many cubic inches of just immediately coming up, from out of the corner and just comes back up into RPM. Don't think there's going to be any problem there. And then it spends most of its life at RPM. So we're not accelerating we're not doing the same type of acceleration as we are on drag strip, where it's lugged down and needs to tractor through at a set RPM rate per second kind of thing. This is going to be, it just needs to snap and come up there. Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, we'll ask Adam because I think that's the way it needs to be. He's made very specific. It needs to come up out the corner immediately.
Right. Adam he's a very smart guy that has a set deal that he knows exactly what he wants.
We're gonna drive-by-wire throttle body. Gonna be doing some power management and RPM management and through the drive-by-wire along with some other functions. So I have my ideas on there that we've been talking with those guys, with Freddie and with Adam, and of how to significantly soften up the being on the rev limiter, because it don't care what anybody thinks, just because it's spinning the wheels doesn't mean that it's being on a rev limiter is easy on parts. It is not. And then we'll have a video when we go down there after they have the whole install done, and then we're going down there, and I told Adam that I just wanted to have him show me how to drive a car well. He'll probably put me in some form of a beater. If he was smart, he would put me in a beater. Even though I'd like to drive a nice one, I'd like to drive this one. Maybe I could do it in the open.
Somewhere where you can't hit anything.
Somewhere where I can't hit anything is my goal. But we'll be going down there to the compound too. So that's going to be super sweet. So anyways, let's continue on here. Kyle's going to finish putting these cylinder heads on. So let's watch this as we put the valve train in, start working on valve train geometry and push rod lengths and everything like that. So we're going to keep on trucking. All right, what do you got going on here?
So basically, I went ahead and put a set of lifters in it so I could check push rods, get a push rod length, and I noticed if you look in here, oh, maybe you can't really see it, but down here at the very bottom of where they have the push rod relief cut into the cylinder head, it is hitting something fierce. Enough so that I can't even get a tapered push rod to fit in there. So we're gonna have to clearance it a bunch more, obviously. So to save a bunch of time and not have to go down in there and grind with the die grinder, what we're going to do is find the angle of this push rod so that we can clearance the cylinder head using the Bridgeport mill instead and save some time, Lord willing, hopefully.
Yep. All right, so what you're doing is we're going to use our angle finder to find out what that direct angle is on the push rod, so we could set the end mill up on the mill to run down the same angle as the push rod, right?
Correct.
So you can just try saving some time, but still probably have to do some hand touching. So since the push rod is way in there, we had to put it on a 1, 2, 3 block to find our angle. So that is at 0. And then put that block in on, because it's magnetic, so it doesn't stick the aluminum, you know. All right, and then just kind of hold it on there. And so we would just subtract that from 45, and that basically is on, and we know that we need to move it a little bit more, so we're going to call that a 5-degree angle. So that push rod is on a 5-degree angle
Relative to the deck.
relative to the deck surface. So there you go. So we're going to have to take these heads off. We're just mocked up anyways. And to clearance for push rod, and a lot. Now, what's the intake look like? Intake was good, you said?
Yeah, intake should have plenty of room.
Plenty of room for a good sized push rod in there?
Yeah, you should be able to fit a 7/16 in there.
Yeah, we'll see if we can, yeah. We might open that one up a little bit too. There's a lot of room in there, so we could fit a 1/2 inch to 7/16 push rod, you know, something big and beefy.
Mm-hmm.
So, alrighty. And we got lots of room. We'll leave the stand on here and touch off right there on basically a rock arm stand. And then kind of go down and probably like this, you know, slot it. So it's a oval shape.
Yep.
All right. So, cylinder heads off. All right. So we're back over here on Adam LZ's Big Block Pro Drift. Now, this would definitely be the Pro Drift version of the Big Blocks, but we're going to have the downscale versions of this for the grassroots guys. We're going to have them for the grassroots guys, you know, in a lower, more economical form, but something that actually works. Because I'm telling you what, if you just go grab yourself a Big Block Chevrolet from your average Joe and go try run it like this, it ain't going to run long. So we're doing a lot of special stuff to this thing, and one of these things is for the pro level is a very nice, if you have not seen this kind of stuff before, a Daly's billet oil pan. Now, billet oil pan's cool, but what is more important here is the pump. So the pump is integral into the oil pan. It bolts on right there. It scavenges. There's no lines. So this oil pump sucks all the oil from the pan. I'm going to show you that because it's really pretty interesting. We'll go over that. And then pushes all the oil out from here into a dry sump tank in the car. So that makes it a dry sump. And then the oil pump sucks it back in, pressurizes it right here, and sends it into the engine. So oil goes around, goes out to the tank, comes back to the pump, into the engine. All right. Now, but this not having any lines and just being bolted onto the pan, instead of having a bracket on it and spinning it and turning it and doing all sorts of stuff, makes it much nicer, and it packs into the car much nicer. Now, to show you some really interesting, neat stuff about these billet pans, because it really does have a lot of stuff designed, engineered in here, which is nice. Now, keep in mind, your crankshaft is going this direction, okay? Clockwise direction. So it wants to throw oil down, and he has built these this is all one piece. There is a lot of machine work that is here to make this all happen. But oil comes down, goes whoop underneath here, kind of hits, goes underneath here, and then has air channels that come up, which is really interesting. So if you see here, you see that light come up through there, so the it's not to get the oil to sling all the way around. That's not the point. What we want to do is he wants air to come up here and vent it, because oil comes in here, slosh, or goes underneath this, and then if you flip this over, ba-ding, this goes right here. All right, so the oil pump was bolted right here. All right, so this is 100% upside down. You take this off, so this is the oil pump mounting. So you can see here, there's those holes for just air venting. Here is the groove that let me shine the light in there for you. Here's the groove. See that light okay, Nate? Mm-hmm. All right, so that's the groove that the oil comes through. Air goes up there. Then this is right there, all in this groove, to suck it in. So it sucks it into this channel. All right, you want to take that last screw out there, Kyle? So we'll take this apart, and you'll see all the rest of the channel in here. Have to get the O-rings all back in it. So all this is all O-ringed in together. Make sure we don't tear anything here. So there's that pickup. So I'll show you this in the next part here. So oil is going right straight up through there, which is right here underneath this screen. So it's a nice screen pickup. This whole little channel right here. Then it goes into this whole deal, which is just all passages in order to get it to the right proper spot for the oil pump. These are the scavenge sections for the oil pump. So this is a scavenge section, means it just sucks oil from this one. This one sucks from there all the way to here. This one sucks from here, here, here. Interesting, eh? So really a pretty elaborate piece, and we'll get this thing all put back together and cleaned up. Now when you do rebuilds on these, or if you ever have a problem or you need to check something, you do have to take it all the way apart like this, because there's lots of little passages that hide everything. So that gets to be a little bit, you got to take it apart. But other than that, there's a lot of stuff going on in a pan like this. It just makes it much better piece. So I'm gonna put this the rest of the way together, and then just clean this up, make sure everything is good, nice, and we will get this on.
All right, guys, we got test hole number 1, just nice and easy. Basically, thousands 1,060 horsepower, 1,059 horsepower. And I got it set to manual start and stop because I'm messing with the load settings right now. So it's going to have a goofy looking graph. All right, so yeah, just pull back on the throttle up there, ease back off of it. It's got a little funny spot right there. I'm sure it's just in the tune-up. Also, I noticed that our RPM signal was wigging out a little bit up top here. So we're going to investigate that, make sure everything's good. Oil pressure, looking amazing. Boost pressure, no boost pressure because it's NA. Fuel pressure, I have the pump spinning at half speed right now. So it's got a little funny spot where it dips down a couple pounds right here. So I'll probably just go ahead and make that pump spin full speed while we're dynoing this, just to be sure. It should have enough at half speed, but that's pretty much where we're at.
That was quick.
That was quick.
And I mean, that's 900 foot-pounds of torque at 4,400 RPM. We can tune it up a little bit. It'll make more do better. And that's just the first hit, eh? Yeah, I mean, it's still, yeah, pretty minimal. All right, I'm gonna keep on going here. Just trying to find the sweet spot on the tune-up. I know it should be in that 11. The goal is to be in the 1120s range, around there. It's great torque, and what everything ends up being here is this is the compromise. So we can make more horsepower. That's no problem. But you have to make it live. And so it is really under cammed for what it needs to be. So, but we already knew that. I already knew that. And that's why it makes its, peak torque at 5,500 and peak horsepower in that 7,000 to 7,500 range, which is pretty goddamn normal. But, so anyways, we're gonna keep on going here. So, but that whole little 7,500 to fall back down into 930 foot-pounds of torque every time you let off the throttle, the thing's gonna have 900 foot-pounds of torque regardless.
Pretty damn good. I was gonna say, you didn't even crack a smile doing it.
He's locked in.
Normal.
All right.
Yeah.
What did we get?
1125, 7,000. Yeah,
torque down there.
I know. And it just should roll into it and just go. So I mean, if you're coming down or for whatever reason, it'll just snap right back up and just hit it.
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
that's always been my biggest complaint of like all motor LS stuff is to make the power on them.
You gotta
They've got
keep it
no
revved up.
torque.
Yeah.
Like they feel like they're broken under 4 grand. Looks similar, yeah.
Almost identical. Which is actually what it should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we'll just see if it's a different curve.
Well, if I remember correctly, our peak power was at like 6,900 prior.
Oh, was it?
So
Should have pushed it out a bit.
it should have pushed it out, which makes sense. That's oh, it's just
Pretty
about
damn
identical.
similar.
It's just, yeah, that is just about identical. Normally what I would do in this situation right here is no different than when you guys are tuning stuff. When you get to the point where it's like diminishing returns,
Just leave it.
just stop. Just stop. It ain't no big deal. So pretty happy with that. This little glitch right here is, I think that's just a little dyno glitch. So don't worry about that. It'll just be smooth right here, and just basically making that peak horsepower up here at 7,200 horsepower right in that range. It's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Did it change fueling at all?
We're about to find out. Like 1%.
Yeah. So we really didn't
1 or
particularly
2%.
care. You run all your stuff at open loop?
So pretty much everything is in open loop. Some of the street cars will put a little bit of closed loop stuff in, but it's just usually doesn't react fast enough for what we do, and then it can hide issues if you ever have a problem.
All right. No, that's true. It does. Yeah. So I think that's all good.
Pretty.
We can keep beating on it if you want, but
I mean, it's really like if there's anything else you want to try. I mean, you know these motors better than I do. It's what fuel, timing, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, we've already done fuel.
Yeah.
Fuel, air, spark. That's all there is in this one. And then we tried camshaft. I know what we could. I mean, you could go all on push rod engines. We'll go in there. We'll do lash loops. You can.
What does that mean?
Lash loop means that we'll sit there and we'll adjust the valves down tighter.
How often do I need to
Or
do that?
looser to simulate a big cam, small cam.
Got it.
Yeah, but I already know what it wants. So
Yeah.
I know what it wants. We can't give it.
How often will I need to adjust it?
Once a race, I just want you to check it.
Got it.
And so,
Adjust it, ideally, never.
yeah,
Got it.
But
Check it.
check
check
it.
it.
Okay. So this
Yeah,
isn't
no-
something where I have to do like a service item every race.
No, not really. Yeah, not as a service. It's just checking to make sure something's not going away.
Got
It's
it.
no different on your stuff. If you all of a sudden got something that's got a ton of lash,
No,
there's something broke.
we'll catch issues by
Just check.
feeler gauge,
Yeah, same thing.
but we can't adjust it with a flathead. We got to pull the valves out.
I know that sucks. This you'd just be able to adjust it if it was something.
Yeah, I
but,
know.
you shouldn't have to bother. We'll go over it one more time before when it cools down, before it leaves, and then I actually like to do it, and I'll have you do it cold. That way you can do it anytime.
Got
You
it.
don't have to have it warmed up. It doesn't have to be the racetrack. In fact, don't even bother doing it at the racetrack.
Makes sense. Do it once we get back.
Do it when you get back and it's cold and just check it. Yeah, everything's cool. It's
Sweet.
fine. Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
Now, what would like the traditional like service intervals of an engine like this? I mean, we change oil once an event. Is there any other things other than that in check and lash?
That's it. Cool. That's it.
If it's gonna sit for longer than a couple weeks, I mean, it's just a standard ethanol stuff. You want to wash
Yeah.
ethanol out of it.
Deal. Yeah, no, it's just a big version of what you already got, mostly.
Cool.
Yeah, easy squeezy.
How are harmonics?
I would be,
Like the Barra engine is the only engine I've ever had experience with bad harmonics, just vibrating everything loose.
yeah,
Is that an issue on these or not really?
no, not normally. I can, I've been in this building long enough, and if you look, the dynos are all on the same concrete pad, so I can feel it in the floor.
That's
like,
funny.
yeah, I just know what things feel like. Like apparently that engine over there, it drives through a weird harmonic issue, like real low RPM, but it's never there, so it doesn't matter. But I can feel it as it's accelerating up, and it's like I can feel it in the floor. This one feels great, feels smooth. You don't feel it. Yeah, you would. I mean, it'd be like just feel the vibration.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, should be pretty good. I think the primary thing you're gonna notice is it'll rock the car just idling.
Hell yeah.
So it's just you'll feel it
I'm stoked about that.
sitting idling
I've never experienced that
like
before.
this. It'd just be it'd be crazy.
I just want to like look over the person I'm about to battle with and just like,
What?
you know? Wait, did I go the right way? Does it go to the left or the right? Which way?
No, it goes to the right.
All right, cool. That's sick.
Yeah, well, what do you say?
What rods are in there? Like what material are they?
That's still a steel rod.
Do you use tie rods for anything?
Yeah.
How do they do?
Great.
Yeah, we just made the switch over on our JZs to tie rods.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Yep.
which is interesting because like we don't need it for power reasons, but the logic was the lighter rotating assembly on the Stroker JZ will help some of the bearing wear issues that people experience at the higher RPM. So
Makes sense.
it's an expensive fix, but if it
It's
helps,
an expensive fix. I'd have to see if that actually fixes it.
yeah.
'Cause
I mean,
what-
we haven't had issues, but like that's the Achilles heel of the Stroker JZs is you start to get a little bit more like load on the bearings because of that.
Ah, I'd have to take a look at that. Because technically, what happens, and it's the reason why we don't normally use a tie rod is the same reason why we use an aluminum rod. It's looking for one I had here. Aluminum rods and big horsepower stuff is because the tie rod is the worst at transmitting harmonics to the bearing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in a big engine stuff, they're really hard on the bearing. I mean,
Got it.
they beat the bearing up. You put aluminum rod in it,
Soft.
it's softer and it compacts a little bit, absorbs.
I got
And
aluminum rods in one of my Honda engines.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I put an aluminum rod in your JZ before I put a tie in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be about the same weight.
Well, handle the torque though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah. It's a run duration. I'm not 100% sure
Got
on
it.
that.
We'll use the throttle to roll torque like earlier. So essentially, with the amount of grip that we have, it'll never hit rev limiter.
Right.
Because the torque, like it won't make enough torque there. So it'll want to just, like on my engines, it'll usually hang at peak torque. Like if I'm gripped up on full kill, when we're going sideways, the cars do have a lot of traction. And if you're maxed out, your car basically won't be able to get past peak torque.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
So if you have
Lays over.
like an engine that keeps pulling and has torque that keeps going, like a graph like that, it will just sit on limiter. But if you roll it a little bit over at the end, it won't.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's much better. Much better. Okay.
This kind of naturally does it, but like I think, 700 foot-pounds of torque is still enough to hit limiter.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get you in a drift car. Like, we'll have this thing hooked up.
Yes, I definitely, for sure, want to drive this one just to,
It'll be picking the wheels up.
yeah, put me someplace safe and show me what to do.
Oh yeah.
You get a pretty big skid pad at your place, don't you? It's just nice and open.
It's big, but it might be bigger than you'd want to test something like this out.
Right.
Yeah. It's gnarly. But it's just I mean, it's like here, right? Like you just did a hit in your backyard. It's not a racetrack, so there's trees and barriers
Yeah.
and building.
Yeah, no, that would be great for me, you to drive that in the car would be great.
Yeah.
Just to
Connect the circuit.
connect it all up. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, especially after I've been driving that thing.
Yeah.
This has got twice as much horsepower and torque.
Yeah.
The problem
I
is
think-
like this would feel really bad if you didn't have the right amount of grip in it. So like if let's say you run a tire setup that works really well at 500 horsepower and you run that same tire setup with this, it won't feel good. So you almost have to drive this on like kill mode with the grip.
Oh,
Otherwise, like if you've got too much power and not enough grip, you'll just blow through it and it's not good.
Yeah.
It's like a burnout car.
Yeah.
We don't want to do burnouts. We want to go fast.
I want to go fast.
Yeah.
Which you had. When we go down there, I have to correlate that and have to be in it
Yeah.
to figure that out, what that really means. So we'll figure that out at some point in time.
The easiest way to explain it is like, like on a street car,
Yeah.
there's a sweet spot where when you're hazing the tires, it's still going. But if you put too much power in too soon, you don't go anywhere. It's the same thing with drifting. If you do that and you don't have the traction really ride through it, there's like a sweet spot of vehicle speed to wheel speed.
Yeah. So you're still feeling the G,
Oh yeah.
acceleration G,
Yeah.
forward G.
Yeah. Yeah. So we run anywhere from like a 295 to a 315 pretty sticky tire at like 8 pounds. So the tires are like,
Squat down.
yeah.
That's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I think we're all done here. So we're going to get this thing pretty much packaged up. We're going to go through, just make sure everything's all good. We actually do have, the valve covers are actually going to go back to Brock in the CNC department, and we're going to put the logo. We'll show you what that looks like before we check out. But I'm Steve Morris. You are?
Adam LZ.
You are Kyle Morris.
Have a great day.